You paid $100 at Walmart. Walmart keeps about 3 of them. $3. That is the profit on your $100 cart. Roughly 3 cents on every dollar you handed over. Not 30, not 13, 3. So in 2025, when Donald Trump's tariff bill landed on Walmart's doorstep, the company had a problem. And so, it turns out, did you. Because here's the question we are going to answer, dollar by dollar. If Walmart only keeps 3 cents, who actually paid the tariffs? Walmart, China, or the person reading their receipt in the parking lot? Stay with me. We are going to follow your $100 all the way down the chain, past the headlines, to the one new hand that showed up in 2025 that nobody bothered to draw. Start with the receipt. Out of your $100, about 76 go straight back out the door to pay for the goods themselves. The factories, the suppliers, the people who actually made the thing in your cart. About $20 more run the machine, the workers, the rent, the trucks, the lights. $1 goes to tax. And what is left over? $3.10 is Walmart's. That is the whole game. Walmart is not a company sitting on fat margins, hiding profit in a back room. It is a company that makes its money on volume, 3 cents at a time, across more than $700 billion of sales a year. If you like watching where your money actually goes, one product, the full trail, no hand-waving, subscribe. We do exactly this every week. Now hold on to that 3-cent number because it is about to do a lot of heavy lifting. For most of Walmart's history, the chain was simple. A factory in China makes something, a ship brings it over, Walmart marks it up a little, stacks it high, and sells it cheap. Roughly 6 out of every 10 things Walmart imports still come from China, down from about 8 in 10 a few years earlier, because Walmart saw this coming and started spreading its bets to Vietnam and India. Then, in 2025, a new hand reached into that chain. And it was not a supplier, or a shipper, or a middleman. It was the United States government. A tariff is just a tax you pay to bring something across the border. Walmart pays it the moment the container lands, long before the box ever reaches a shelf or a cart. So picture the chain again, with one more hand in it now. Factory, then ship, and then the Treasury, palm out, taking its cut before you have even reached for your wallet. The only question left was who would actually cover that cut. Hold that thought. And this particular cut did not creep up. It went vertical. The tariff on Chinese goods started the year with a 20% baseline. In April, on what the White House called Liberation Day, another 34% got stacked on top. Then came the retaliation and the counter-retaliation, and within days the rate on most Chinese imports hit, and this is not a typo, 145%. For a few weeks in the spring, bringing a Chinese-made toaster into the country cost more than the toaster. Importers simply stopped. Then, in May, negotiators met in Geneva and knocked the rate back down to about 30%. So in roughly 6 weeks, the cost of crossing that border went from a fifth of the value of the goods to nearly 1.5 times it and back down to a third. Whiplash. And every cent of that whiplash had to land somewhere. Walmart looked at its 3-cent margin and said, in plain terms, we cannot eat this. On the earnings call, CEO Doug McMillon told investors, quote, given the magnitude of the tariffs, even at the reduced levels, we are not able to absorb all the pressure, given the reality of narrow retail margins. Translation, prices are going up. And he was not bluffing about the margin. 3 cents really is narrow. You cannot absorb a 30% tax on a chunk of your costs when you keep 3 pennies on the dollar. But the president did not take that well. On Truth Social, Trump told Walmart to, quote, stop trying to blame tariffs, said that Walmart and China should, quote, eat the tariffs, and then added, I will be watching, and so will your customers. So now you have a standoff playing out in public. The retailer says it cannot absorb the tax, the president says it had better, and neither one is talking about the receipt. This, the part past the shouting, is the entire reason the cut exists. Subscribe because what neither side put on screen is the next 90 seconds. Here is what both sides left out. While Walmart was telling everyone it could not absorb the tariff on those razor-thin margins, its margins got wider. In the same stretch, Walmart's gross margin rate rose 53 basis points, and its operating income climbed more than 8%. Read that twice. Both things are true at the same moment. Walmart genuinely keeps about 3 cents on the dollar, and Walmart's profit went up while it was raising prices because of tariffs. 53 basis points sounds like nothing. It is about half a cent more on every dollar. But Walmart moves $700 billion of goods, so half a cent is real money, billions of it, and it moved in the wrong direction for a company that supposedly could not afford the tariff. And the timing is the tell. The margin widened in the very quarters the company spent warning you that prices simply had to rise. Nobody lied. The margin is narrow and the margin grew. So how does that happen? It happens in the gap between what a tariff costs and what a price increase earns. And to see that gap, you have to do the one piece of arithmetic that never made it onto the news. A 30% tariff does not apply to the price you pay at the register. It applies to the import value, what the item cost coming across the border, which for a typical Walmart product is maybe a third of the shelf price. Run the math. 30% of a third is about a 10% bump on the tag. 10%. That is what the settled tariff actually justified. So what happened to the tags? CNBC tracked about 50 Walmart products and found some of them up as much as 51%. A Graco car seat went from $200 to $299. A 12-piece cookware set went from $99 to $149. Even bananas, which come from Costa Rica, not China, drifted from 50 cents a pound to 54. And here is the part that should bother you most. When the tariff fell back from 145% to 30% in May, the prices did not fall with it. The car seat did not quietly return to $200. Once a price goes up, it tends to stay up. The tariff is the reason it rose and almost never the reason it comes back down. The tariff was real, but somewhere between the 10% it justified and the 51% on the shelf, a gap opened up. And a gap on this channel is just another word for a cut. Now, was that gap just Walmart being Walmart? Look at who else was standing in the same storm. Target keeps about 3.5 cents on the dollar, basically the same razor margin. But Target imports a smaller slice from China, around 35%, so the tariff touched it less, and Target called raising prices a last resort. Then there is Costco, which leaned on its suppliers to absorb the cost and largely held the line. And Amazon went the other way. By late 2025, analysts found Amazon raising prices on more items than either Target or Walmart. Same tariff, 4 different answers. Costco pushed the cost back up the chain. Target hesitated. Walmart moved fast. And Amazon moved fastest. Which tells you something simple. The tariff did not set your price. Your retailer's exposure and its appetite did. So here is the question to carry to the register. When the tag jumped, how much of that was the tariff and how much was just cover? The tariff gave everyone a reason, and reasons are useful. They let a 10% cost turn into a 50% price, with the government's name on the receipt instead of the company's. Walmart still keeps about 3 cents of your $100. That is true. The tariff was real. That is also true. What changed in 2025 is that there was finally one hand in the chain that everybody could point at, the government's, and pointing at it was a very good way to make sure you never counted the others. The factory still got its cut. The store still got its cut. The Treasury got a brand new one. And Walmart, quietly, kept a little more than it used to. You paid $100. You always knew some of it wasn't coming back. Now you know exactly where it went.